Even if you've been living under a rock for the past couple of days, you would have seen something in regards to Iran and Israel getting into a bit of a dust-up, which a lot of people are pointing to. This is going to be the beginning of World War III. Now, this could be from a couple of different perspectives that I'm coming to this conclusion. Maybe, I don't know, I was just kind of staying off of social media, haven't really been myself lately, just kind of completely and totally disconnected from the situation, and, well, I wasn't just buying into this stuff anymore, man. It's just, I see things like this all the time. Perhaps I'm just getting a little bit too jaded to the news, but it's like, it's just, I don't care. I really don't care about this. Okay, I'm not going to go die for our greatest ally in the Middle East. Hell no. That's not going to happen at all. Nor does this mean I'm taking the side of Iran. Frankly, I know about as much as everybody else when it comes to this situation. What ended up happening? Well, there you have the teacher's pet out there picking a fight and then thinking the moment that they get called on it, they're just going to pull on the dress strings and somebody's going to come to their aid. When in actuality, that's just not happening. And the little would-be bully that always thinks that everybody's gonna believe their telling of events, thinking that if we pick up the story right in the middle, we'll be able to see it from their perspective and ride in from the distance in order to save them from their own terrible decision-making. That's just not happening this time around, and that's kind of the general sentiment outside of the ruling class. That's kind of what's percolating out there. Took them long enough to come around to it, but now that the people are starting to push back, I suppose it's better late than never. But this is how Israel defeated 99% of Iran's missiles and drones with the help of the U.S. and an unlikely ally. Well, it's kind of funny that you say that the U.S. helped out in this situation, where it's like, yeah, that's where all the money comes from, and the fact that nobody wants to come to a divisive conclusion to the conflict in the Middle East, it just lets you know that the military-industrial complex, they just kind of want another forever war. Because let's be honest, when was the last time that you heard about Ukraine? Oh, right. Israel managed to shoot down 99% of the 300 drones and missiles that Iran launched at the quote-unquote Jewish state on Saturday night using an advanced air defense system known as David's Sling, in addition to an array of other anti-missile capabilities. Yeah, unless you go and take a look at the citizen journalist videos that are out there. Shout out to Ryan Dawson and his Telegram group with a bunch of very helpful videos that I can't show for very obvious reasons because they purport the truth. And whenever I talk about this stuff, YouTube seems to find a way to suppress conversation that speaks against the narrative, but I do highly recommend that if you're looking for some more truth out there. Not a single drone or cruise missile fired by Iran and its proxies made it through, so why are you trying to elevate this into something that it's really not? Your defenses worked. Okay, fantastic, but how did we get to this situation to begin with? Oh, because you went and whacked a general for what reason exactly? Thinking that nobody would come and retaliate? Or were you trying to elicit an action so that you could go ahead and claim more of the land that you think that you're entitled to because of holy words and holy books that you're using as geopolitical justification? Iranian general whose, yes, assassination triggered weekend attack on Israel. Yeah, it's so funny. Retaliation for you killing one of their generals. Imagine that. That's the way that it gets framed. Okay. He apparently helped with the attack on October 7th. Oh, yes, our hallowed day that's right up there with 9/11 and all that type of stuff. But what happened October 5th? All right, we don't ever want to, know the impetus of any of this stuff. Again, just we pick up the story right in the middle when it involves foreign country A. Just listen to their telling of events. That's the correct one. Otherwise, you just get accused. You get the big old scarlet A affixed to your lapel, and you get lumped in with a bunch of head-cased leftists, and you'll be disassociated from the overtly compromised right. It's such a fun place to find yourself in. The Iranian general, who was killed in an Israeli airstrike that triggered Iran's retaliatory weekend attack, was a Muslim country's point man on Hamas's October 7th assault on Israel. It's so funny. You have all that information, but you can never provide concrete receipts as to what happened on the 7th. Very very interesting how they're trying to use that as now the justification to go in and try to stoke a global war. Very, very strange. Coalition's Council of Islamic Revolutionary Forces, an organization with close links to Iranian leader, the Ayatollah Khomeini, praised General Mohammad Reza Zadine after his death as a strategic role forming and strengthening the resistance front, as well as planning to execute the Al-Aqsa storm. Yeah, but what about the Al-Aqsa mosque that got raided on October 5th? Just wondering. AKA the October Massacre. Oh, that's what we're calling with now? Oh, right, according to the Jerusalem Post. And they've been 1,000% correct on all of their reporting since October 5th, right? Oh, yeah. Group's description of the slain officer April 3rd. All right, we're in April already. 2 days after his death marks the clearest admission of Iran's involvement in the atrocities, which saw 1,200 mostly civilians murdered. Oh, okay, yeah, mostly civilians. Mostly's doing a lot of heavy lifting. Over 250 taken hostages since the terror group Hamas invaded Israel. Oh, yeah, we don't want to talk about invasions all that much, but in the grand scheme of things, yeah. Okay, cool. You want to take biases, you want to take, I don't know, information that would inform your position on this situation out of it. What does this have to do with anybody? What does this have to do with the United States in general? And frankly, like I said, guys, this is the overwhelming majority of people that I'm seeing out there. If it's not just the simple deep state chills, most of them just happen to be elected officials that have a very extensive bankrolling from AIPAC. It's just nobody's out there really jumping to the defense of our greatest ally. It's just not happening this time around, man. They see how transparent this is and the fact that, yeah, Iran's kind of done. Okay, cool. You very publicly whacked one of our generals, and we sent some missiles over. Some of them were successful, others weren't. Some reports are greatly inflated. It's not like them to normally inflate numbers, but we're here now. Iran's chief of staff, our attack is over, and we do not wish to continue it, but we will respond forcefully if Israel targets our interests. Israel crossed red lines by targeting our consulate in Damascus, and it had to be responded to. Yeah, exactly. They instigated a fight. Iran struck back. Israel's crying foul, and now they want the rest of the world to come in and help them claim more land. Israel describes Iran's 350. Oh, now we're even inflating the number of attacks. Cool. Missile attack as a declaration of war. No. Oh, we got the official line right here. Everything's all over, okay? You come back once again. Hey, man, you won't like the repercussions. But yes, and vows more offensive and defensive action. What defensive action? You instigated the initial attack, and then you want to play victim. Have we seen this before? Yes, we have, as G7 leaders, including Rishi Sunak, stand ready to take further measure, but the United States won't join any retaliation. We're seeing that. Like, outside of the Republican AIPAC class, most people are kind of like, yeah, okay, cool. Very, very extensive ties with Israel. I think that's beyond refute at this point in time. Why they're there? Well, we can get down in those weeds if we're so inclined to. But a couple of weeks ago, it might have been even a month ago at this point in time, Trump was talking, okay? Just compare and contrast that the official United States stance is nobody's going to be joining in retaliation, ... until, I don't know, somebody ends up getting a call, but at least for the time being, no World War III quite yet. Even when Trump made the statement about how that war in the Middle East is currently going on, it's like, yeah, Israel's losing a lot of support. They're really not they're kind of losing the optics battle, I think, to just paraphrase his stance on this one. And that's kind of woken up a lot of people. Hodge twins, as I showed their tweet beforehand, saying we're not supporting World War III. They've been doing some noticing lately, very publicly. Candace Owens, that led to her being dismissed from the Daily Wire, she's been doing a fair amount of noticing, and in general, at least from what I can see, just general support for foreign wars, it's just kind of not really happening all that much. It's kind of if we're talking about red lines being drawn, okay, there's kind of a decisive point in time when it comes to a generational divide with foreign war support. You have Gen X. Gen X, a little bit more trepidatious when it comes to supporting foreign wars, but if you take a look at general poll numbers, when it comes to Ukraine, they seem to be on one side of the aisle very explicitly. And then when it comes to Israel, very much on one side, depending on political affiliation. Whereas when you start to get into millennials and Gen Z, it becomes a little bit less interventionist and a little bit more take care of what's going on at home. Now where the divide starts to show up a little bit more fervently in the millennials and Gen X, the younger generations that are out there, well, depending on what you should be focusing on at home, but they're far more concerned about domestic matters than foreign matters. They might say that, yeah, Russia man bad in regards to Ukraine and Russia, and then they'll have the completely wrong take when it comes to why Palestine should be free from Israel, and that if you come out on either sides of those conflicts with similar conclusions to people traditionally on the left, you end up getting lumped in together with that hive mind brain collective, and it's like, no, I actually got good points for being on this side, and it's not just, I got stolen land, and it's like, that's a little bit more nuanced than that. But I think we're definitely entering a time when questioning certain narratives, questioning information that just gets placed in front of you that you're just supposed to listen to and believe, that's very much gone by the wayside. And one sacred cow, as it were, that used to be the undying support for our greatest ally, I think they kind of ended up burning all of that stuff up since the fated day in October. A lot of people are starting to wake up to certain tactics, and you just can't continue to play these cards anymore because you just end up with the conclusion that, yeah, we ain't supporting World War III, especially if it's going to be fought over things that have nothing to do with domestic interests. So until things peak up once again, and I think that the media is pretty much going to be taken aback by what's going on with the Trump hush money trial that's supposed to be starting up today. I think it's a jury selection or something like that. So the trial proper is going to be starting in the next couple of days. Yeah, they'll be spinning away from World War III starting. Frankly, in the grand scheme of things, it's probably not the worst thing to happen. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.